Good morning, brothers and sisters. Today, again, we read from Heavenly Tribe, Hoondok, chapter 3, Heavenly Parent, section 8. Heavenly Parent has worked to save humanity for thousands of years as if it were only a day. Path of Restoration. Through parents' words. Due to the fall, human beings fell into the realm devoid of the principle. Angels are God's servants. In comparison to them, how far did human beings plummet? They plummeted into a realm lower than that of angels, lower than servants. They were to be princes and princesses, and as such the lord of the angels, but they fell to a position lower than servants. Hence, they must climb back from the position of a servant. They must climb to the position of a servant, an adopted child, a stepchild, and a child of direct lineage, then through the mother to reach the position of the father. This is restoration. The providence of salvation is to bring human beings back to the standard of health they enjoy before they become sick. That is why the providence of salvation is the providence of restoration. The providence of restoration is not carried out at random. To recover the world defiled by the fall, God has been leading the providence of salvation by building relationships with human beings through the angels that remain on His side. God has been pursuing the providence of salvation to once again relate to human beings, even though they betrayed the glorious God through the fall and fell to such a miserable state, lower than the things of creation. Human beings are under Satan's dominion and subject to his accusation, yet God has worked to bridge the gap between Himself and us so that He might govern us. He has continued His work through the Old Testament age and the New Testament age, even to this day. Why has God endured a path of suffering to the many millennia of the providence of restoration? It is simply because He has a kind heart. Why has God continued His providence of salvation for the tens of thousands of years of human history without becoming exhausted? It is not because He is all-knowing and almighty. It is because He is on the path of love, seeking His beloved sons and daughters. Love has the great power to triumph over all the tribulation in its way. With love, we feel as if 1,000 years are but one day. Sharing thoughts. This is an incident that occurred in a farmhouse in Scotland. On summer morning, a couple put their small child in a large basket after breakfast and went out to work in the field. However, some time later, an eagle swooped down over the farmhouse and flew away with the basket held in its beak. Villagers who had witnessed this scene stamped their feet with frustration, but there was nothing they could do. After flying for a while, the eagle left the basket on the top of inestimable tall cliff and flew off with and disappeared. The bravest young from the village was chosen to go and save the child. However, after climbing a small part of the cliff, the young gave up because he could not climb anymore. Luckily, a soldier who had been passing by the village volunteered next, but he became worn out halfway to the top and had to come down. The villagers were filled with anxiety and disappointment and did not know how to do. And at that very moment, an expert climber from the village was lastly brought in to rescue the child. When the fully equipped climber started climbing the cliff, sure-footedly, everyone was confident that he would be the one to succeed. When he had climbed a third of the way, however, the climber could not go up anymore, and so he pulled out. Now it seemed there was no hope of rescuing the child, and everyone was about to give up when they saw someone climbing the cliff like a person possessed. Her hair was in a complete disarray, her clothes were torn, and her hands and feet were bleeding, but she gave no thought to herself as she continued to climb to the top like a crazy person. When she finally reached to the top of the cliff, she strapped the baby to her back. People down below cheered, and when she finally reached the bottom of the cliff after hours of effort, her whole body covered with bleeding wounds, people once again clapped her hands to cheer her. She was none other than the child's mother. This story tells us that the parents' love for their children is so strong and firm that it cannot be compared to anything else. The strong will and sacrifice of parents to save their children, not giving up until the end, regardless of how many others give up midway, demonstrate the most precious and eternal love in thousands of years of history. The heart of parents is such that even when everyone else has given up and the child is as good as that, they cannot give up. What then will the heart of Heavenly Parent, the origin of heart and the owner of true love, be like? Heavenly Parent cannot give up for even 1 second on human beings who fell and lost the ideal of creation, and He has continued His endeavor to save them. Parents can love, support, and encourage their children, but they cannot live their children's life for them. Heavenly Parent too can create the environment to save human beings and lead them, but it is the responsibility of human beings to respond to His salvation. Every time humanity fails to fulfill the responsibility and the dream of human salvation, it shatters once again. Heavenly Parent feels even greater anguish and sorrow, and yet He has never given up His love for humankind. Heavenly Parent has never abandoned the dream of human salvation or stopped loving humanity, not even for one day. We need to think about the boundless love of Heavenly Parent who has led the history of salvation for 6,000 years as if it were only a day. We should be able to hold on to the loving hands of Heavenly Parent and make His dream of human salvation come true. Points of contemplation. Let's try to feel the love of Heavenly Parent who never abandoned fallen humanity. 2. What would the heart of Heavenly Parent have been like as He led the 6,000 years history to save humanity? And 3. Let's repent for the people of the past who did not know about Heavenly Parent's heart and were unable to realize the providence of salvation. Oh God. I was reading some place, I don't know which book or who is the author, but I really find it so true by the story that is shared here, that the mother love is the most close to Heavenly Parent love, and even that is not showing the complete love that God has for us, and that's really amazing. When you really work on yourself and you look for God with the most sincere and eager heart, and God will show His heart to us, and that completely melting us and transform us. When we come to realize that God is loving us unconditionally, despite any fault we have done or we are doing, it's really heart melting to see that God is never accuse us, never blame us, never put us down, never criticizing us, but completely embracing and loving us just the way we are. And yes, He's hoping that we will come to feel His mighty love, and we really take responsibility. Each time when we don't fulfill our own responsibility, God's heart, it's suffering and it's in pain because He's preparing great environment for us to just do the minimum. Yet many times we don't do not even that. And then will God come to us and say, oh, you did wrong, I prepared all this, I make such a big effort preparing for you this, and you was not able to take it and so on, okay, I give up on you? No, God will never do that. He's like GPS, when you take a different route, when you don't want to follow what God is giving you, or you think you know better than God, the GPS is like recalculating without saying, hey guy, you should go straight while you go left. It just recalculate automatically and take you maybe on a longer route, but you have to reach the final destination. So God is like this. He never blame us, never accuse us, Never say you are supposed to go straight but you go left and you are not good or something like this. It's just like recalculate. Okay, you go left, okay, then go left and just keep going on that road, and we'll deviate little bit, and so on. And Heavenly Mom and that love, it's so incredible that it cannot be expressed into words. It have to be felt. And you know, in the last year I passed through so many things. Some things so painful. Yet I never felt God more closer to me than in this period. Each time when people hurt me so bad, I just feel like God embracing me. And when I saw like God embracing me, completely melt inside of me any desire of rebellion or asking why this is happening to me or why this is not fair or something, any kind of complaint, because I could feel like God was much sad than me. And yet God wanted to comfort me, and we are supposed to comfort God. Yeah. And that is our Heavenly Parent that loves us unconditionally. Because of true parents, I had the holy grace to meet God in such a deep form and shape and emotion. I'm totally and completely grateful to true parents for bringing to us such a deep understanding and such an incredible life standard that it's bringing us in direct connection, heart to heart, with Heavenly Mom and Dad. And I wish you that each one of you to work on yourself, because God is so willing to reach to us, to every single human being. And I'm definitely sure that our hearts is looking and resonate with God, each one in a very unique and special way. Let's liberate our Heavenly Mom and Dad, and let's bring joy to our Heavenly Mom and Dad and true parents. Thank you, and I will conclude here. Yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye.